Hey guys, so just a few topics that I wanted to talk about that I've briefly brought up in a couple of my other videos. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the whole concept of training in regards to time under tension. And so there's two ways that you can increase the work done by your muscles. So you can either increase the load that you're placing on the muscles, or you can increase the time that the load is on the muscles. So that's what I'm referring to when I'm saying time under tension. So just the time that the muscle is placed under that load. So that's your time under tension. So there's two phases of an exercise. You have your concentric phase, that is the shortening phase, and that lasts about 1 to 2 seconds. And then you have your eccentric phase, which is the lengthening, and that's like 3 to 4 seconds generally. So for example, like if you're doing a bicep curl. So this movement up here, bringing the weight up, is the concentric phase. So that's when it'd be like a quick burst, so like 1 to 2. And then the eccentric lengthening phase is bringing it down, nice and controlled, is what I always tell my clients. And so kind of an idea of getting more out of your training would be to, on the eccentric phase, so when the weight is being lowered for the bicep curl, for instance, would be to pause when you get to the bottom of the motion. That way, when you're about to perform your next rep, you're not using momentum to help carry that weight up. You're relying strictly on contracting your muscles rather than swaying forward and using momentum, using improper form and all of that. And then not only does it let you really use your muscles rather than using momentum, you're able to take that pause to really do mind-muscle connection. So really actually thinking about contracting the muscle that you're about to work. So for the curl, for instance, the bicep. So you're thinking in your mind about contracting your bicep, and you're going to get a greater response. And so another tip for getting the most out of your training, optimizing your gains, etc., would be to make sure that you're using the full range of motion. So that's another way that you can increase your time under tension, because if you're going through the full range of motion, that's going to take longer than, say, doing, only going 75%. So if you're going through the entire range of motion from start to finish, from bottom to top, that increases the time, obviously, that your muscle is under that load. So if you're just new into resistance training, new into lifting, and you're not really aware of where each muscles are, like what all the muscles are called and like what they specifically do, my advice to you would be to literally feel it, so palpate it. So if you're doing a bicep curl and you don't know what the bicep is, or you don't know what that's supposed to do, then you really, when you're doing the movement, you want to literally put your hand on it and feel the muscle contracting, and making sure that you're squeezing that muscle so you're working the muscles that you're intending to work. Because half the time I'll be in the gym and I'll see people, and you can tell they're doing an exercise and they're thinking that they're working one thing, and they're not. They're doing something entirely different. So just making sure that you're using mind-muscle connection, being aware, and making sure that you're engaging and contracting the muscles that you're intending to work. Another way that you could increase the time under tension would be to kind of vary your training style. So maybe you want to start incorporating some drop sets. And what I mean when I'm saying a drop set, so say that you're doing bicep curl and you're starting at, say, 15 pounds, and you do X number of reps. Well, immediately after completing that initial set, you would drop the weight, so say maybe to 10 pounds, and then you would do a certain amount of reps there. And then you might drop it one more time and go down to 5 pounds. So that's what I mean when I'm saying a drop set. So literally just decreasing your weight and still performing sets and reps. So Obviously, that's just going to increase your number of repetitions, which increasing your number of repetitions, you're going to be increasing the time, your time under tension, which will help with muscle growth. I personally use a lot of drop sets because from my personal experience, my body responds so well to that. So for me, it's crucial for increasing size and strength for me to be using drop sets, especially when I'm working out shoulders. I do a lot of drop sets, a lot of things to failure with shoulders specifically. Another thing that you could do would be like partial reps, and so that's going to be exactly what it sounds. So if you're looking to just get stronger in an exercise as a whole, so throughout all phases of motion, the concentric and eccentric phases, a way that you can train yourself to be stronger during the midpoints of that motion would be to train kind of like at the extremes. So at the very top and the very bottom, because at the extremes are where our muscles are going to be the weakest. So if you can work on doing bottom reps and top reps, partials, then you're going to be getting stronger at those weak points. And then the next time you go and you perform full reps, you're going to be stronger as a whole, because it's just like the bigger piece of the puzzle. So if you break it down and you get stronger in each individual phase within a movement, the next time you go and do the full movement, you're going to be stronger. So just some ways that you can mix up your training style to try and increase some strength, increase some size. So basically, to summarize, if you're wanting to get optimal results from your training, it's really important that you're using the full contractile length of the movement, so going through that full range of motion. If you're just starting out, or say you have an exercise that's weaker, like if you can't do a full squat, if you can only do like a quarter squat, well then you work up to that full range of motion. So you don't have to, be a beginner and immediately be busting out tons of reps doing full squats. If you might have to progress. So that might be what you are progressing to, going from a quarter squat to a full squat. So always working on increasing that range of motion until you get to that full range. But then so you want to go through the full range of motion, so utilizing the full contractile length, but then going back to time under tension, so how long, how many seconds you're really putting stress, putting load on that muscle. If you're just out there just cranking reps and you're not being slow, you're not being controlled, then you're not getting the most out of your training. So you really want to make sure that you're using that, generally speaking, 1 to 2 seconds, the concentric shortening phase, 3 to 4 seconds on that eccentric lengthening phase. Yeah. So just always wanting to have the most tension placed on your muscles possible. So just that constant tension is what's really going to result in muscle growth. But it's key, so when you're training time under tension, you still need to make sure that A, your form is correct, and B, that you're using the appropriate weight. So those are going to be two big things you need to keep in mind: form and weight selection. Now the next thing that I want to talk about was just through what I've come across in my personal experience working with some of my clients, or even myself before I became very knowledgeable, was just a few of the reasons why you might not be seeing results, seeing progress. The first thing, you're just going through the motions. So you go in the gym, you don't have a plan, you don't have a goal, and you're just kind of willy-nilly training. You're not really following a split or anything like that, which if your goal is to, you know, just be healthy and just be active, then that's totally fine. But if you have specific goals, specific physique goals that you're trying to get to, you need to have a plan. And it's a plan that you need to stick with. So that would be my first thing. If you're just going in without a plan, then that could be a reason why you're not seeing progress or seeing results. Second thing, this is huge. If your diet and nutrition is off, and that could be, you could be under eating, you could be overeating, you could just not be eating the most optimal food for your goals, for your the vision of what you want your physique to be. So really getting that nutrition on point. Again, unless you're, you know, like me prepping for a show or something like that, but for the general population, I definitely believe everything is okay in moderation. But there are optimal macronutrients, forms of them that you should be consuming, and there's optimal times that you should be consuming each of those macronutrients, which I could go into more detail in a different video. But so you just want to be smart about your diet, be smart about your nutrition. If you aren't sure if you're eating the right amount or if you're eating, you know, too much, too little, then I suggest kind of keeping a food log for a few days. I always have my clients start out with this, so just keep a diary of how many meals you're getting in, like what times, what they consist of, and then you can go back and kind of figure out how many calories you're getting in that day, and you can take an average over a couple days, and then you want to look at your activity level, because obviously if you're looking to lose weight, you need to be taking in less calories than you're giving out. So it's really important that diet and nutrition as well as exercise, that they're working together. I'm watching golfers outside. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. The next thing, so your cardio. All cardio is going to be doing is it just breaks down your muscle. And so you really need to make sure that you're doing, you know, the right amount of cardio for whatever your goal is. If you're looking to really lean out, you might be doing more cardio. If you're looking to build muscle, then you might be doing less. So you just need to make sure that your cardio is also in line with your strength goals. And then if you've only ever been a cardio bunny because you think that that's the only way to get results, I wasn't always huge into weightlifting. I did a lot of cardio, I will admit, but then once you become educated, you find out little tidbits. For example, that obviously muscle weighs more than fat. Muscle is composed of more lean tissue, which will actually be burning more calories at rest. So strength training is good. So you don't have to be prepping for a show or doing a powerlifting meet to do resistance training. You don't have to use super heavy weights. You don't have to use super light weights. So just find out what works for you. But definitely, it's really smart to incorporate strength training into your exercise regimen. The next thing, kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but if you're not using the right form, if you don't have the right form or the right technique, then that could be another reason why you're not seeing progress or results, because you could be engaging different muscles than what you're actually intending to work, or you might not be putting it under enough time under tension or loading it properly. So you really want to make sure that you have your form down. It's much more effective to use lighter weights but be using the proper form and really mentally focusing on engaging the appropriate muscles than having some big ego, lifting a shit ton of weight and just using awful form, because you're not going to see results and you're putting yourself at risk for injury. Kind of some of the next things that kind of can be lumped together would just be like overtraining. So whenever you're in the gym, all you're doing, you're actually breaking down your muscle fibers. So you do all of the tearing down in the gym. It's the hours outside of the gym where you're actually building the muscle, so when it's repairing. So you need to make sure that you're taking adequate rest, letting your body recover. General rule of thumb is 24 to 48 hours downtime between working the same muscle groups again. But yeah, overtraining, it can lead to, you know, overuse injuries. You have to let your muscles repair. So in the gym, you're just tearing them down. You're literally making micro breaks in your fibers. And so it's how you supplement after and how you rest and recover after that's actually going to result in muscle growth, or lack of. And so, and again, kind of tying into that would be sleep. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough hours of sleep every night. Your muscles need that to repair and to grow. So sleep is so important. It's one of the top things that I keep in check. Yeah, so sleep, that's definitely one of the top things that I keep in mind when I'm training for a show, making sure that I'm getting, I try and get like 8 hours, so really just making sure that you are getting the right amount of sleep, and quality sleep too. So I always like to be kind of on a set schedule, so generally wake up around the same time, go to sleep around the same time, and that helps keep my energy up throughout the day, and just your body likes homeostasis. So the more that you can kind of keep things the same, the body likes that. And my last thing, again, I've briefly touched on this, but supplementing properly. So you want to make sure that, you know, especially after like a lifting session, that you're getting in enough protein. If you don't have specific macros given to you by a coach, a general rule of thumb is like 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight for females at least. You also want to make sure that, like, if you're doing a bunch of fasted workouts, you're getting in your BCAAs, your amino acids, especially L-leucine, L-carnitine. You want to make sure that you're getting in just daily vitamins, making sure you're efficient with all of that, and so supplementing is huge. But so those are what I just went over. Might be some reasons why you're maybe not seeing results that you are intending to, or might not be seeing progress as quickly as you would like. So just reevaluate your goals, reevaluate what you're doing, and kind of make sure that everything is lining up, and hopefully that'll help you get to your goals a little bit quicker and more efficiently.